Good evening, welcome to Sunday stream. It's me again. Obviously, I say that, you're here watching my channel, you obviously know that it's me. It's always me. Stupid way to start a channel. Anyway, Sunday. So Sunday is once again Palace of the Dead with Bann and the ever lovely Eva, who is our healer for this endeavour, and I'm going to be very nice to her because I don't want to die. So we'll see how it goes. Had a bit of an interesting day today. I look a bit sort of rough and ready because, to be honest, I am. I've been out to see my sister today as it's her birthday coming up in the week, and I probably won't get a chance to see her midweek. Speak to my nephew and my niece as well, which was quite nice. It was actually the first time I've met her, so that was really nice. Gave them some of those Disney cards things you get in Sainsbury's for spending money there. I don't know what they are, but somebody gave Eva an absolute stack of them, so we decided to give them all to them, and they absolutely loved them. My nephew wasn't very well, but within 40 minutes of me being there, he was suddenly decided he wanted to wrestle because he was feeling so much better. So there you go. I'm a healer in real life, apparently. That and ice cream. Ice cream definitely helped. In other news, my dog is back to being my dog again. She is pup. She has not been well at all this week since Monday. I've mentioned a couple of times on the stream she's not well, and I've been a bit concerned. Mainly because last year when we first got into lockdown, she was very sick. I took her for a walk and she threw up, and then she just kept throwing up, and it just didn't get any better. We ended up taking her to the vets, and it turns out that she had serious liver problems that nearly killed her. The lining of her liver was peeling away. And for those of you who don't know, you can't stitch a liver. You can't stitch it back together; it doesn't work. So they did this experimental sort of procedure thing on her. Where they use this stuff that's like a powder that forms like a seal around the wound that they use on bullet wounds in like Afghanistan and places like that in the military. So she got that done to her, and now she has a full body scar. But prior to this week, you'd never know that she would ever been in a bad state like that. But she's recovered. She's moving about. When I went down to see her this morning, she did what me and my wife call an arrow, which when we first go down, she's like a big stretch, and she goes, arrow, and then she comes running out of the kitchen, and you know she's okay. And she hasn't been doing that all week because she's been feeling like crap. She's not eating a lot until later in the week when I fed her a load of sausages. And this morning I came downstairs and I got my arrow, and then she ran upstairs and jumped on the bed to see my wife. So it was really good to have my dog back. That really has cheered us up because, again, it's coming back to the whole mental health of things. That dog has really helped me with a lot of my issues and things. It's good to have a pet in that way as well, because it really does make a difference to your own mental well-being. So it's been really good to have her. But anyway, tonight's stream is not brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends because I'm just not that famous. Surprisingly enough, I mean, I know Raid Shadow Legends sponsors anything with a pulse, but not me. So tonight's stream is going to be Palace of the Dead, continuing from where we left off last time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that stream. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this stream. Last time I did it in first person, but I feel like that was a bit too much of pressure on particularly Eva, who's healing, and with her healing I do want to try and keep her happy. So we're going to go down the road of me not doing it in first person, because yeah, she wasn't happy afterwards. Anyway, let's get into the game. That's what you guys are here for. So bear with me. I talked for way longer than I expected to just at the start of this. So now you can see I'm running around Ishgard. I always start in Ishgard because it is actually my favourite place in the entire game. I love it in Ishgard, but that's not where we're going. We need to be in South Shroud. So we're continuing from where we left off, which I believe was floor 60, maybe? We'll see when we get there. Oh, I've just seen in chat, Bann's Fantasia'd again. What have we got this time? He is an Elizon, which if he had red eyes would look like a vampire. That would be pretty cool. And no, that is not an excuse for you to go Fantasia again, just to change your eye colour. Not today, Satan. Right, we're on floor 61. Let's do this. As he says, BRB as I press the button. Oh well, so we've got a bit of a delay, which is good, because it just means that I need to talk crap to fill the void until we actually enter the content. Hey pup. It's good to see you. Okay. I think we should split up at the start to map it out, see where the enemies are, see what we can do that way, and then see what the best way around is. So, if you want to go that way, I'll get the treasure. Let's see what we get. Steel. Right, we can't use that. That's fine. And I'm going to go this way. You made him go Ellison again. I don't think it would take much persuasion for Bann, to be fair. I know some people are addicted to drugs, some people are addicted to alcohol, some people are even addicted to pornography. Bann's addicted to Fantasias. Right. How many Fantasias have you had since you came back to the game now? Is it like 20, 30? I missed an opportunity to say it's over 9,000. Dragon Ball Z. Always classic. Okay, let's do this. Oh, was that a luring trap or did that just turn up? I've got to admit, I'm kind of enjoying doing Palace of the Dead, like the floors 50 plus, because it does have a sense of danger to it.
I think that was just a randomer that appeared.
You're aware that my stream can hear you, by the way, there?
I was not.
You are now. So, we don't need to kill everything. So we can avoid fights if we can. We don't need to kill everything. We do want to try and get as many of the treasure chests as we can. At least the shiny blue silver ones. Because we need better gear, to be honest, when we start taking the higher floors. I know the cost-effective way, effectively, to do this is to just spam 5160 on repeat until we get better. Oh, what am I doing? I thought you'd gone in there. Good thing I'm a caster and I don't have to continue. Oh, why is it targeting that? We're fine. Didn't hit anything. We're fine. Never happened. Yeah, the cost-effective way is to do floors 51 to 60 on repeat, get our gear up and go again. But actually, I think it would be better for the stream and for us all to get as far as we can, fail, and then go again and see if we can get further the next time. I much prefer doing it like that way, because it gives us a real sense of how good we are and how far we're progressing if we do it that way. What race are you currently? If you Fantasia all the time, because I have been higher myself off and on since ARR, to be honest. Started off as a Midlander and then I hit puberty and now I'm a Highlander. And yes, there can be only one. And that is a good reference, nobody says otherwise. Highlander is a great film. Oh crap. Camera angles. I do like the music in the Final Fantasies. This reminds me very much of oh, I forgot what it's called. The port on Final Fantasy VII when you leave the first continent after you get out of Midgard. Oh, what's it called? Oh, that's gonna bug the crap out of us. Okay, we're moving up a floor. It's like Junion, is it? I don't know. Brain's not engaging tonight. Ban, you've never played Final Fantasy VII. How far through the first disc did you get? Because there's a really, really good bit at the end of the first disc. And then the story kicks into overdrive. When you get to the City of the Ancients, it gets real good. Something hit that like a truck. What was that? Wait, did the explosion affect them as well? The trap affects the enemies as well. Oh, that is cool. Oh, yeah. Then that means that we could maybe use that later on. Like, sacrificial me. I'll just run in and kaboom, take everything down. Sorry, Pomander a witch and then kaboom. Okay, so we've got a Pomander of Fortune. I'm gonna run up this way because that looks shiny. Am I ninja enough to get behind the crocodile? Pomander of Safety. What does that one even do again? Removes all traps. I'm using it. Right, we're out of traps. And at least we know the way up now as well. We know where that is. So we've kind of mapped the sort of key elements. Now we're just treasure hunting. So we might as well give it a shot. Red Mage looks so cool when you do that. But how is my gear looking? So I'm 53 and 62. I've got a long way to go before we're getting over floor 150. I mean, Eva's carrying us all with 79 and 79, so that's fine. Resolution. Kuribu. I don't even know what one of them is. You have the highest HP of us all so far. There's still time. I mean, I'm a caster, so I have no HP. I could have come in my Dragoon or my Samurai and I'd have been pretty good. You're a Heager. No, we've already used safety. We've got rid of the... We did the safety dance already. We don't need to do it again. So, in the realms of MMORPG news, as I try and keep people updated with the news when I hear of it, which is probably like 4 or 5 days after everybody else has already heard it, and I'm just rehashing old ground. But, spare a thought for Actiblers, who, once again, have Actiblers their way out of something. And have now removed references in the game, referring to orcs as greenskins. That has happened. And also a reference in the day that Deathwing came, I think it is, where one of the characters says that there was a hot babe on his bike, and it turns out that one of the options is a male blood elf as well. And they've removed the hot babe. So they've removed that reference as well, because obviously, like, I know what they're trying to do, and I get what they're trying to show that they've changed, and that they... You know, but it feels more and more like that episode of South Park, you know, when BP flooded the Gulf of Mexico with oil, and it was the, we were bad, now we're good, and I'm sorry. Yeah, the we're sorry episode. Exactly that one, Ban. Exactly that one. It just reeks of that to me. It's just very corporate and very false, and it's in no way actually addressing the issue at all. it's just ticking a box. Hey, I got strong. Gains, yo. Gains. So that has happened. I can't think of anything else in New World. Oh, New World is up there. So a concurrence, like their server cap to 3,000 now, which it should have probably been at the start. But having said that as well, the way New World's sort of worlds actually work, with each server being its own world, it's not. They all follow the same plan. But they've got like 400 servers, so as soon as that game starts to die down, which it will inevitably after an MMO launch, especially a one with no content like that has and got, then they're going to have to start server merging, or you're just going to end up with servers that are dead. They should have had a higher cap and less servers, and then your servers would have stayed populated even as the population starts to go down and dwindle, because that's normal for any MMO. But it feels like this has been designed by a team doing my first MMO. We need to kill some more stuff to activate the thing. So yeah, it feels a bit like that. I feel like this week, if you are up for it, Bann, we can do a Guild Wars 1 new player experience, and I will certainly go Joanne Voyant. It's going to be a story. Or should we save that for Halloween? Like that sort of run-up week. Because I am quite enjoying playing Necromancer in Guild Wars 2 at the minute as well. Oh, I slipped and I fell and kaboom. Watch this, I'm gonna hit this and it's gonna go off. It's gonna be a trap. Pomander of Rage. Which is by far and away the... That's fine. I'm gonna be streaming Halloween Sunday. I don't know what I'm going to be streaming. Quite possibly horror games, and it's going to be a lot of a much longer stream as well. I think I'm not just going to do my usual hour and a half. I'm going to do a longer one, and I'm going to do it dressed as a wolfman if I can find the costume. It's upstairs somewhere. I don't know where. You know that going out to friends the night before. I miss Halloween parties. I do. I loved Halloween parties. They were always class. I don't miss hangovers. I am... oh, why is it targeting that one? Yeah, I am 3 years sober now, so that's going for us. Go me. Yeah, I'm 3 years sober, I think now. The last time I went out, I drank copious amounts of shots because it was a works do and there was a free bar, which obviously would mean the vicinity is a terrible, terrible idea. So, yeah, as you can tell, I used to drink quite heavily. I was out 5, sometimes 6 nights a week. Which probably also explains a little bit why I can get into MMOs, because MMOs tend to be for people with a lot more of an addictive personality, and if you knew anything about me, you'd know that I strongly fit that mold. I'm also awkward as hell and struggle to talk to people a lot, so MMOs really give you that sense of community that I struggle to find in the outside world, which really makes it sound like I'm in prison. It does. It sounds like the Shawshank Redemption you ordered on Wish. So, but I love MMOs for that sense of world, for that sense of belonging that I really don't find a lot of in my life outside of gaming. I don't like calling it, as odd as it sounds, I don't like calling it real life because I don't want to diminish any of the friendships that I make within my MMOs. Because a lot of the people that I've met in here I'm closer to than I am people outside of MMOs. I spend more time with them, I talk to them. I talk to a lot of them every day. Oh, okay. Well done. I talk to them pretty much every day. And they know more about me than the people that I grew up with or a lot of my family and stuff. So, I do actually mean you, Bann. Yeah, I know you're taking the piss a bit there, but I do. I talk to you. I open up to you. I struggle to do that outside of MMOs. Sorry, Yuki in my FC has just made a comment on my my follow account. For those of you who aren't aware, please check it out. It's nice. Oh god, it's amazing, right? Final Fantasy can have references like that in the game. For those of you who didn't see that, Rhinoceros's move there was called Third Leg Back. And yeah, Blizzard go out and change the name of the Love Rocket. Because papering over those cracks is definitely the way to go. No room for humour. They're going to change it so that, you know, everybody is the same class and everybody... And they're just going to homogenize everything to the point that it's just a gelatinous blob. And oh my god, me trying to say that there. You wouldn't guess that English is my first language. But it is. Yes, I have watched Futurama, and Zapp Brannigan is the greatest thing to ever happen to TV. He is my hero. With... wow. WoW will be the neutral planet. Tell my wife hello. Damn neutrals. Nah, the best moment in Futurama, though, is the highly ridiculous statement of Zapp Brannigan when it's the episode where the holodeck comes to life and the whatever the summon in there becomes real, and he's talking to a bunch of characters from history, and he gets told by Attila the Hun, "Don't let off rocket inside space canoe will cause explosive decompression," and it's the line, "Spare me a space age technobabble, Attila the Hun." It's utterly ridiculous, but it cracks me up every time. Yeah, that's the one I mentioned before, Third Leg Back. It makes me laugh, because we can have that reference in this game. And the thing is, Final Fantasy XIV has references like that all throughout the game. And it's great because it literally does it gender neutrally. It does it for both genders. Both genders get jokes chucked at them that are just funny. And it's fine to have a joke. But one thing that World of Warcraft has definitely got right, actually, which I'm surprised at, is, for those of you who don't know, the succubus minion for your warlocks, they're now giving you going to give you a glyph, so you can have an incubus. If that's where are you going, Ban? We need to try and get the treasures. I'm gonna sneak around. I can get around these guys. They ain't even gonna see me. Okay, he saw us, and it's Pomander sight. It does nothing. No, we want to try and see, because it might end up being something that we need. And I kind of want to have... yeah, if we get an intuition, that gets us treasure. Which, yeah, the blues will make us stronger, but the intuition gets us, you know, loot. And let's be honest, as part of an MMO, we do it for loot. Actually, that's a really interesting point, because that is a video that I was watching the other day about like reward structures in gaming, like the fact that you start off doing something for fun, right? You start off doing something for fun. So we're doing Torghast, not Torghast, I call it Torghast because we're talking about WoW. We're doing Palace of the Dead, but we're doing it for fun, and I didn't mean to press that one, so we're getting extra stuff apparently. So Mimic, kill it. So yeah, we're doing Palace of the Dead for fun. But when you first start off in the games, you're doing stuff for fun, but then you fall into the prospect of a reward loop, which I can't say for whatever reason. My brain just goes, ah, English. It's funny how that's where you're from, but you can't talk it. So I'm going to change that to, I don't know, shinies. We're just going to call them shinies because it's easy to say. So you get stuck in a shiny loop, and then you go and do it again and you don't get a shiny and you feel bad for doing it, so you're less inclined to do it again, and it's all about things like that and psychology of gaming, which there's actually quite a lot of that in, and it would not surprise me if companies like Square Enix or Blizzard or whoever has psychologists on staff to sort of see how best to get us on that hamster wheel of keep and playing and keep and playing and keep and playing, and not only to keep playing but to squeeze that extra little bit of money out of us, because that's what they do it for. It's a conversation that I was actually having with my dad earlier today about how I feel like suits are really taking the artistry out of gaming and entertainment in general, because everything's becoming so box ticking, so it must have these elements within it or it won't get made, or it must have this, this and this. Whereas all they're doing is just they all end up just producing the same story but with a different paint on it. And they no longer write compelling stories, they no longer tell compelling stories because they don't care. They're too busy looking at like the 18 to 30 year olds like this, but 30 to 35s like this and blah blah. And it's crap. It's literally mathed the fun out of entertainment. And because it's all on a spreadsheet about how little they can get away with, and how it's not just games. Bann here saying modern game development is paint by numbers, and it is to a point. I mean, the worst case and the easiest low hanging fruit is always active players, because right now they are the easy low hanging fruit. But Molly, thank you for the picture. I can't look at it in the middle of my stream, but I will check it out as soon as I finish. Hopefully, it's quite funny. But they just do like look at World of Warcraft now. It's all about ticking that box. It's all about Torghast, for example, is terrible. Torghast is bad, and I hate Torghast. But they'll be able to show you in their metrics that so many hundreds of people run Torghast, and that's great. But that's because they made it mandatory. Sorry. Mandatory. I actually got into an argument with somebody in the opening patch of that, saying, well, you don't have to do Torghast, because you only have to do that because you want legendaries. And my response to that was, you try and get into any group at all without them. Go ahead. Try and get into any group at all with 0 legendaries. Let's see how well it goes. I can almost certainly assure you, you have no chance. None whatsoever. They just won't take you. So good luck. But that's just not how the game works. But they do that so that everybody goes through and it looks good when they get to, you know, quarterly results or half-year results or yearly results or whatever, and they can say, our expansion spiked blah 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 blah, and yeah, the game itself's terrible. Like, if you were to pull people outside of Torghast after they've just ran it, yeah, like 100 people have ran it. And that's great, but how many of those 100 people enjoyed running Torghast? What, like 10? So it's about what you're measuring as well, but then you do need to collect data and see what people like, but you also need to allow the creative people that are making these games, give them some creative freedom, let them see what they come up with. Like, literally just let the creatives do something creative, and it just takes somebody with a bit of guts to back them and do it. But nobody does, because there's a great video by Josh Strife-Hayes about how the MMO genre got solved, and it's to do with the renaissance of the MMO genre recently, which is great for everybody, by the way. Actually, the best thing that has happened to the MMO genre as a whole, for me, is the death of World of Warcraft. It's not dead, but it's just easier to say that because, it's good clickbait. But the fall of World of Warcraft has opened everybody's eyes up to the possibility of other MMOs. Now, for years, all anybody did was copy World of Warcraft's design. How many times have we sat here and seen WoW clones? How many times? We've seen hundreds of them. And oh, there's a monster behind us. And the reason for that being that when MMOs first came out, it was like a gold rush. Everybody was trying to figure out the best way to do it. You know, what would people like, what would people not like, what would people play. and there was no really one dominant force, so there was a lot of different games trying to vie for that market space and whatnot, and it was really interesting for the genre, because that's where the creative juices were flowing and you got real improvement. And then World of Warcraft came along and was an absolute behemoth. And you can say what you want, a lot of people like to disparage WoW, but whether you love it or you hate it, I ain't stupid enough to deny its cultural relevance. World of Warcraft broke through into the mainstream in a way that no other game has since. And we can all sit and say what we want about how our game's the best. No, my game's the best. No, Fortnite. In fact, yeah, Fortnite will be the next one that has. But World of Warcraft broke through. I mean, hell, they've just done a fan-based vote for the best South Park episode of all time. And the winning episode was Make Love, Not Warcraft. It has officially been voted by everybody to be the greatest episode of South Park of all time. And honestly, you can speak to anybody who knows nothing about gaming. You can ask them a question about MMORPGs, and they'll say, oh, what's it like? And you can just say, I play a game like World of Warcraft, and they'll go, bang, I'm with you. I know what you're talking about. And there's no other game in the genre that's ever done that, but because of that, the puzzle that is the MMO genre was effectively solved. People knew that people like to do dungeons, raids, and PvP. And because of that as well, it also ended up ruining World of Warcraft, because then they just focused on dungeons, raids, and PvP and forgot there should actually be a world in that World of Warcraft. That's, funnily enough, how it works. It's even in the name, but, you know, it's just me. So, the fall of World of Warcraft now has got people thinking a bit more outside of the World of Warcraft box, outside of the theme park, outside of the, you know, that whole thing. Like, look at the games that are coming out recently. You've seen a lot of, like, Black Desert Online really tried something a bit different, but that was a Korean grinder, and honestly, I'll acknowledge that Black Desert Online, a lot of people like it. I hate it, I despise it. I do not like Korean grinder games. They just bore the crap out of me, and they're so pay to win, and I can't stand that. But hey, each to their own. But then there's a treasure there's intuition treasure down here, which we need. It won't increase our strength, but it will get us monies. And the MMO genre, like, breaking the way that it has, like Splinter and now, has brought back the change, has brought back the possibility that, because people thought the MMO genre was dying and it was getting lower and that, and it was for a bit, but the actual reasons behind it wasn't what the people thought. They thought people were bored of MMOs, they thought people were done with MMOs, they thought the genre was complete and there was no more money to be made, and game over, boys, we've got here too late. But that's not the case at all. People still have a desire to play MMORPGs. They really do. People still want to play MMORPGs, but they want to play good ones. They want to play ones that capture that feeling that they used to, that were MMORPGs, where the world matters, where your reputation within the world matters, where the people that you speak to and you quest with, where everything matters and it feels real. And World of Warcraft feels more like a game. World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV falls into this as well a lot for me, and it's something that I dislike, but I know a lot of people like because it's convenient. But then you're missing the point of an MMORPG for me. MMORPGs are a social experience first and foremost. What I dislike more than anything is the duty finder. They're looking for dungeon. They're looking for raid, because it takes the sense of community out of it. It takes the sense of like. Admittedly, I'm running this with friends now, but previously, if I'd gone into here and just pugged it, and somebody was bad, and I just wasn't having a good day or whatever, I could just kick them out and get somebody else. Not bat an eyelid, because why would I? It turned this whole genre into a solo player game, where you're effectively in a dungeon with, well, we might as well wait this out, we've got 26 seconds, that's on me, but it turned it all into faceless NPCs. I might as well be running this with the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, which, by the way, they brought that in in Shadowbringers here, where you can actually run dungeons with the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, and I despise that. I despise that because that is really just breaking away the last sort of bastion of an MMO. You literally don't need to do any content with any players ever. So what's the fucking point? The breaking an MMO, it's so bad. I can't agree with that at all. I think it's a terrible design decision, and I do not want to see it continue. Because an MMO is about... It's basically taking the classic Dungeons and Dragons, that classic RPG feel, and making it big and giving you a chance to create something, and create a community, and create friendships and stories and adventures. You know that joke, the real adventure was the journey we had along the way, or the friendships we had along the way, or whatever it is. That is an MMORPG. That's what they're about. That's what they should always be about. And they're not anymore. They're just instance dungeon after instance raid after instance PvP after instance content. And Final Fantasy XIV, I love this game. I do. I do. I think it's a great game. But I could happily play this entire game as a solo player and never interact with somebody else and still think it's a good game, because it is primarily a JRPG with some multiplayer bits tacked on. It's not how an MMORPG should be for me. An MMORPG, the players within it need to matter. The communities within it need to matter. And within games like this, they don't anymore. And I get that people want something they can just log into and play after work. Hell, I'm 33. I want something I can log into and play after work, but I also want to do something that I feel matters. That I don't feel like I'm just playing to waste my time. I feel like I'm here to make friendships, and, you know, some of my best memories of my MMORPG days were old FC events where we would all get together on Discord and have a laugh, and we didn't even run any content because it wasn't needed. We just made our own events up and we made our own fun, and it was that real sense of community and bonding and feeling part of something that I, at least, I don't know about the rest of you, but I lack that in my real life because I am an awkward as fuck person. I am. I'm terrible at trying to communicate with people. I'm terrible at trying to... I'm terrible at trying to get back to people as well, surprisingly enough. It takes me about a week to get back to anyone. I'm just so bad at it. I just get in my head that I'll do it in a second and then I just forget. But I'm also terrible at making, like, the first contact, you know, and, like, just messaging a friend or whatever and saying, "Oh, hey, do you want to go to the tower for a coffee or whatever?" Terrible at it. I just feel awkward as hell and I don't do it. I go to work, I come home, and I play video games. So having that sense of connection within a video game and being able to do what I do and then have what I do feel like it matters, it almost gives my life a little bit of meaning that I wouldn't have otherwise. And it feels like things like LFR and LFD and that, and the instanceness of it is ripping that away. So I don't know if it's just me and maybe I'm wanting something a bit more sandbox, but I would say sandbox, but I would say more sandpark, because sandbox, I love sandbox, the idea of a sandbox game where it's an ever-changing world, like Ashes of Creation, for example, where you can drop in and just do whatever the hell you want. But I also like storytelling. I love stories. I love stories that matter. I love stories that make you feel something. Final Fantasy XIV has a great story, so I would love something like Final Fantasy XIV with its story and whatnot, but with the sandbox elements of a sandbox game where you can just go into the world and start doing stuff, and what you do matters and stuff. And I get how impossible that would be to have a story-driven game, but also have sandbox elements, because they are like diametrically opposing views of the same game genre. But if somebody could ever find a way to blend that together in a brilliant balance. I'll tell you which game does come close to it though, which really does, is Elder Scrolls Online, because each zone has its own little story, and its own story ties into everything else that matters. So you can go kind of anywhere in the world and have that sort of mini theme park adventure, but also you can run around and do whatever you want and just explore. And that's the closest that I've found, Elder Scrolls Online. But that's because that follows the the primary sort of like formula of an Elder Scrolls game first, the same way that Final Fantasy XIV follows a Final Fantasy formula first. It's a Final Fantasy game first and foremost. Eva's gonna pull that. Yep. And yeah, you are right. The combat in Elder Scrolls Online is terrible. I don't know if any of you have played it, but the combat is not great. I love a lot of the features in Elder Scrolls Online, and it's a game that I do always end up going back to. Always. I end up going back to for a couple of months or whatever and enjoy it. But it's not a game that I'm going to main. It's not going to be my, you know, like my main MMO ever. Because I get bored, for one, but even though it's got a lot of story, I do get bored of it eventually. But also the combat just feels bad. Don't get me wrong, I love the UI, I love the way that you get your skills, I love the way that you create your skills and upgrade your skills, and you know, that whole character building thing in it, that's fantastic. I love the way that their level up system works. It's really good, but the combat itself, the actual like mechanics of it, it's not great. Oh, we made it to the boss. Oh, it's Leviathan. No, it's not. It's fake Leviathan. I'm gonna kill it. Yeah, when you start getting higher up in this game as well, the bosses really start to get a lot more HP. But I like that it periodically gets higher, it doesn't just arbitrarily get stronger, it's not just number up. And that's the trap that I feel like Torghast falls into quite a lot. As you've probably guessed as well while watching the stream, I can get very opinionated about MMORPGs, and the reason for that is quite simple. I'm very passionate about MMORPGs. I absolutely love MMORPGs. I'm a big fantasy nerd, and I wear that as a badge of honor. Like, some of my favorite literary works are the Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, you know, and the extended works, and the Hobbit and whatnot, and also the Wheel of Time, which again is becoming a Netflix series in November. So November's going to be massive for me because I've got the Wheel of Time coming out, and then I've got obviously Endwalker, and as I've said repeatedly, I was there at the start of this, and I'll be there at the end of this story arc, and I can't wait for that. I also need to get my beard sorted at some point because I forgot to shave today, and it's reminded me that I am going to try something a bit different with my beard to give myself a bit of face shape, because I feel like my face just blends into my neck too much. So do something with my beard and sort that out. Obviously not do it myself because you have not seen that my skills do not lie in creation but destruction. Although, having said that, I did something cool today. Hopefully you guys can see this. That is cookie dough that I made. Because I was making caramel shortbread, because there's the cookie base itself. There you go, check it out. That's a cookie. And then the finished product was that. That is caramel shortbread. But the base is a cookie dough. And it's incredible. So, there you go. Span's just going to grab himself a quick drink. While I was doing that, I'm going to talk more about some MMOs. Upcoming MMOs. There's a game called Pantheon that I haven't really looked into. There's Project Gorgon as well that I want to look into because I've heard good things about it, but I'm not too sure. There's Ashes of Creation, obviously, which is my own personal big hope. Although I do expect... I do know that I'm going to have some issues with it. And I will say as well, with these upcoming games, and particularly within the MMO genre as well, upcoming anything, in fact, as a species, we tend to start hyping it, and we sometimes get really overhyped with the my neck. Sorry. We tend to overhype it, so we're predicting that it's going to be an 11 out of 10, and then we're disappointed when it's a 9. So I'm trying to temper my own expectations on Ashes because I know it's not going to be the full VR immersive style. I don't want to say Sword Art Online because it's weeby as hell, but that style of full immersion gameplay where you are part of the game world and you are your character and stuff. It's not going to be that, which is what I want it to be, but it's going to be good. It's going to be a step in that direction, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the extension of Guild Wars 2 events into the nodes. I mean, that node system is the big selling point for me more than anything else. I know a lot of people are excited about world PvP because I will say as well, I need to say this out loud as well, and some people will disagree with me, and that is perfectly fine. By all means, disagree with me. People are people, and we all have our own preferences and whatnot. But PvP is a sideshow. PvP is not the be-all and end-all of a game. PvP is good to have, but building a game around PvP does not work. The audience is not big enough. Quite frankly, where did that one go? The intuition. There it is. Nailed it. Yeah, PvP is a sideshow. It's not the main event. It's not. The biggest games in the history of MMORPGs are Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft, and both of those primarily focus on PvE. Old school RuneScape, they had a lot of voting on stuff, and it always ends up going to the PvE because people want PvE content. Some people like to PvP, but hardcore PvP games fail all the time, particularly MMOs, because as vocal as these people are, and bear in mind, I'm in a lot of servers with a lot of these people, the hardcore PvP crowd are vocal as hell, and they think everybody's the same as them. They think everybody wants everybody wants a full loot hardcore PvP experience, and I'll tell you right now, fucking no one does. Do you know why we aren't all sitting here playing Mortal Online? Because it sucked. It was a bad game with a bad premise. Nobody gave a crap about playing a hardcore full loot PvP game. Do you know what it devolved down to? Why would you go out there with your best gear on if you die and you lose it? So it devolved down to everybody being butt naked and fighting with a wooden spear, because otherwise you risk losing everything. It's crap. It's absolutely awful, and people automatically assume that everybody wants that experience. They want that hardcore PvP experience. Nobody wants that. It's not big enough to carry a game. It's not. The audience is not there. Particularly Ashes of Creation, the way it's marketing itself right now, is it's not marketing it's a PvX game, which for those of you who aren't aware, it's player versus environment versus player. So there could be a world boss and we all turn up to fight it. So we've got me, Bann and Eva here, and we go to fight this world boss. But then 3 other people could turn up behind us and attack me and Eva, and Bann's left fighting the world boss on his own until he gets it down so far and they kill him and take this. And that's PvX, and that's fine. I approve of that. That's great. That adds a bit of spice to things. You could be gathering in the world and somebody could attack you and you get into the whole PvP situation. That's fantastic. I approve of that too. That's great. But basing your entire game on just PvP will not work, and it makes me worry for the stability and longevity of a game like Ashes of Creation, which the PvP crowd needs to realise that game needs to offer so much more than PvP. The node system's fantastic. The node system's a great idea. That is what drew me into Ashes of Creation, the ever-changing world. But the idea of having like dungeons and bosses and all that sort of stuff, they need to be in the game. Look at New World right now. Look at it. You get through the first 30 levels, you've completed the game. The next 30 levels are just the same 30 levels on repeat. And they've got no PvE content, so that game has no legs. That game is not going to continue. You'll get 2-3 months out of that if you go slowly. If you go quickly, you'll get 2-3 weeks out of that, and then you're done. And then you're just logging in to do the PvP part if you're in a guild that gives a shit about PvP. Which, funnily enough, most people just turn that off and turn it into a fucking logging simulator. You might as well go and play Lumberjack Live or whatever. And it's because it's content sparse. So all these people who are hoping that PvP is going to, you know, change the world of MMOs, it won't. PvP's been there since the start, and it already sucks. So they need to get over themselves a bit and realise what's best for the genre might not necessarily be what's best for them. And a game like Ashes as well, it tells you in one sentence that it's not for everyone, and that's okay. And that is a sentence that is loaded, by the way. That gets thrown around as a badge of honor on the forums and Intrepid Studios. And I have a response to that. And I'm quite happy to say it on my stream right now. So if anybody eventually from the Ashes Discord finds me, because I do talk on there a lot, and sees this video, this is to you guys. Ashes of Creation isn't going to be for everyone, and that is okay. But it needs to be enough for enough people to keep the fucking lights on. Because if I want to jump into the world of Vera and play Ashes of Creation, I want to know that I can play there for fucking years, not months. I don't want to go in there and have the game complete within a month and then it just revolves into a fucking dick measuring contest, because that is the fastest way to get everybody to leave your fucking game and then your game dies. And that is not something that I want to see. Eva's asked a question now in the in-game chat here about what excites me the most on Ashes of Creation. And in all honesty, the node system. The node system, by far and away. The idea of having a dynamic MMO world, a fantasy land that I can be part of, that I can escape from my own reality in. Because in reality, I am a guy with mental health problems, and quite possibly I'm autistic. I am awaiting testing for all of that, and I have no shame in that. I am what I am. But within my MMO, and within that, I can be a spell sword, I can be an elf, I can be a dwarf, I can be an ogre, I can be whatever the hell I want to be. I just don't have to be me. And I get to do it in a fantasy land that I've tried to escape into since I was, like, able to read books in primary school. And the node system having a dynamic world will just help all that along. It'll make it feel more alive. It'll make it feel more like everything that we do within it matters. It'll make it feel important. It'll make it feel like a world. Because the biggest draw in that World of Warcraft has, particularly in its classic for me, is Azeroth. Azeroth as a world is phenomenal. It feels massive in classic, without the flights and the speed and all that. It feels massive, and it feels populated, or it felt populated. It's dead now because TBC. But it felt populated. It felt like it mattered. It felt big, it felt important, and that is what people dived onto and loved, and World of Warcraft got massive because of that. And then now you play Shadowlands, and you know what you do? You go download a week aura that tells you how many laps of Ouroboros you've done, because there's fuck all reason to leave. They've got all of this years and years and years of content and history, and they do fuck all with it. And that's depressing, because, quite frankly, Azeroth is fantastic. It's massive. It's a big, vibrant world that they do nothing with, and that's why I'm so damn excited for Ashes of Creation, because each server will be yes and no, Bann. The FF roulette's to a point, but it comes down to breaking that cycle of community, because the roulettes do let you do that content. The Final Fantasy XIV does keep its content more relevant than World of Warcraft does. It's easier access, and that is great. But it's done through a system. It's not done through the world. It's not done through Eorzea. It's done through a game system. And that just adds another layer of disconnect between you and the game. And it makes it feel like you're playing a game, you're not part of a world. And I don't like that. And that's my personal choice, I admit. People don't have to agree with me on that. I'm okay with that. I'm a big boy. I can accept that people won't always agree with me, and that's fine. But that's how I feel about it. I feel like world matters, or world should matter, and people within the world should matter. Because most people now can play an MMO and just treat the person on the other side of the screen like an NPC, like a person without emotions, and like it doesn't matter, and that like they don't matter. And it's broken the sense of community, because originally MMORPGs started as a fucking glorified chat room. And Sorry, I just need to crack my jaw a bit there. Yeah, the started as a glorified chat room where you went and did content, but the main content of the game was the community. And I miss that feeling. I miss that feeling of the community being important. I miss that feeling of the community mattering. And I know people might say, oh, I'm in a good guild, so that matters, or I'm in this raid team, so it matters. And that does, in a small sense. There's no big sort of sense of community in general. There's small communities, and most of the community stuff that you'll do in those guilds, in those raid teams, is done in fucking Discord anyway. It's not done in the game. You only turn up to do the game, to do mechanics. And I'm sorry, but coming into a fantasy world and all you're doing is looking at spreadsheet numbers and you're looking at this and that. I look at spreadsheet numbers in my job. I look at spreadsheet numbers in real life. If I'm going into a fantasy world with fucking elves and dwarves and magic, I don't want to be sat there looking at equations and trying to figure out what 2% better than this if I use this pot and stuff. That's bullshit. That takes all the fun out of the game. And yeah, some people might say min-maxing is their idea of fun, and, you know, squeezing an extra 2% is great and whatnot. And that's fine, you do you, but for me, that's fucking shit. It's like mathing the fun out of a game. It's like the difference between seeing a magician as a kid and seeing a magician as an adult. When you see it as a kid and you've got that sense of wonder and the magic and you think this is amazing. And then you see it as an adult and you know that he's just pulled that fucking ace of spades from his sleeve. That's what it is. It's depressing. And I get that that's just getting older. But isn't that also having enough variety to keep to appeal to everyone and to keep the lights on? Yeah, but you don't have to be for everyone, and that goes back to that Ashes of Creation statement. You don't have to be for everyone, you just have to be viable. You just have to have the longevity. Final Fantasy XIV originally wasn't designed for everyone, and a lot of people didn't play it, and it was just this other game that wasn't World of Warcraft. And you go back to 2017 in Stormblood, and they had 10 million users, I think. And last Thursday, that's gone up to 24 million, and yeah, that's gone up to 24 million, and this is now the most profitable Final Fantasy game in the entire genre, series history. But it wasn't always that way. It was getting by with fuck all players and stuff, but they still made content for those players, and it still kept the lights on. And then by the time the world found out about it, with this whole Asmon coming over and Bellula coming over and whatnot, and Annie Fuchsia coming over, they had 10 plus years of quality content that they'd already made. Just sat there for these people that turned up and they're like, oh yeah, this content's actually really good. This game's actually incredible, it's fine, we'll just play that. Apparently there's a golden treasure chest in... No, not in this one, it's in the start, but that's fine. Nope. We can bail on this if you want. Never mind. But yeah, it's like, they put all this effort into getting their content the way that they wanted it to do for their audience, and then it got to Bann behind you. It got to the point where their audience grew and grew and grew, and now it is the behemoth that it is, and that's fantastic. I like that because it shows that sticking to what you're good at and iterating on it and what you can offer. Final Fantasy XIV doubled down on the story. It is effectively a Final Fantasy game first and an MMO second, and I won't say that that's the wrong way to go about it either, because it really works for Final Fantasy XIV. But I love Final Fantasy XIV as a game, I don't love Final Fantasy XIV as an MMO. And I feel like there can be a distinction between those two, and I know a lot of people don't necessarily agree with me on that, and that's fine. Again, entitled to your opinion. Sorry, I'm just about to have a coughing fit. I went to see my... As I say, I went to see my sister earlier today for her birthday and give her the present and whatnot. And she's got a dog with the Diesel. And whenever I go and see Diesel, I always end up like coughing and sneezing and stuff. I even took allergy tablets before I went to make sure. But apparently I still am. And I knew I was gonna as well, which sucks for you guys because you have to listen to it. Oh crap, it's a mimic. Nailed it. He never got it off, did he? Nobody got caught by the mimic? No, we're good. So... And then there's like... as I say, I love Final Fantasy XIV, but I don't agree with everything that they do in Final Fantasy XIV as well. I don't like the Final Fantasy... I didn't like the rewards for the Final Fantasy 15 crossover event. I don't like the fact that there's a car in my MMO. Even though this is a game that has spaceships in it, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but it comes down to the suspension of disbelief. As I've said before on my stream, if I look outside my door right now, I ain't going to see a spaceship unless I'm, you know, Jeff Bezos, but that's a different story. But I am going to see a car. You have a giant flying wheel, and that's, you know what? Yeah, fair enough. We're in a fantasy game and you've got a giant flying whale. Fair enough. But I do draw the line at driving a fucking sports car. Because that feels like it was just added in for the sake of adding it in. It doesn't add anything to the world. It doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. Do I have the car? Of course I have the car. It's a 4-person mount. I'd be stupid not to. But I don't agree with it. Yeah, the one-man yacht as well. Like, the one-man yacht, though, is done in a Magitech style, which this is a Magitech punk world. So actually, I agree that that works. But as I say, the fact that a car is just a real product, I can look outside and there's cars all down the street. It breaks the sense of immersion. It breaks it breaks the suspension of disbelief, and that's quite important to this. And I feel like the more a game does that, and the more that a game makes you realise that you're playing a game, the worse it becomes. And I feel like having the car within Final Fantasy XIV is a net negative. Yes and no. I agree to a point that they've reverse engineered the car to do it in a lore perspective, but I still think the idea of having a car in general, that was just them tacking it on as a way to make it less sort of egregious, but it still is egregious. It's still a fucking car. And I know we've got that one-person spaceship, but even the aesthetic of that one-person like spaceship that you fly around and whatnot suits the Final Fantasy world. It suits the world of Eorzea. That car doesn't. It doesn't look like it belongs. It's not nearly as bad as like what Phantasy Star Online or something does. Sorry, dog hair again. It's better when flying field draws on the aesthetic of the heavens one day. Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. It feels better to have it flying because it feels more like it works, but in general it just doesn't feel right. To me, it breaks that suspension of disbelief. And again, I know not everybody's going to agree with us, and that's fine. But it's not nearly as bad as like a Phantasy Star Online 2 or some of the proper Asian games. And I'm aware that Final Fantasy is an Asian game, I'm not an idiot. But some of them where you can drive around in a fucking police car, and like Terra for example, yeah, you can drive around in a little police car. Yeah, but Bann, you also like Xenos, so you know. But yeah, you can drive around in a fucking police car, or you can dress up as a schoolgirl. I mean, some of the outfits that they brought into Final Fantasy XIV now as well, like the jeans and a hoodie and all that sort of jazz. It's just wrong. It doesn't add anything to the game. It doesn't match the game. It breaks the aesthetic integrity of the game. It makes it feel like a fucking game. It doesn't make it feel like you're playing in this massive world. It's just... I'll shit on World of Warcraft for a lot. I will shit on World of Warcraft for a lot, but at least their aesthetics are consistent. At least that. Every time. They have their own style. You maybe like their style, you maybe don't. That's fine. But having fucking hoodies and normal... like, basically what I'm wearing now, you can wear in Final Fantasy XIV. It's fucking hoodies and sweatpants. And that just strikes me as wrong. Like, you see all these people running around in like full fucking night costumes and whatnot, and you're in a fantasy land that has dragons and all this sort of stuff, and you run around in fucking jeans and a t-shirt. I'm sorry, but no, it's stupid. Or the Japanese style high school costumes. What are those people who don't go fighting monsters day to day gonna work? Fucking era appropriate clothing. You see it if you run around Ishgard. You see it. They've got era-appropriate, like, non-combat wear within this game, which, by the way, I do approve of. I do approve of the idea of having non-combat wear as well, because let's be honest, when I go to work, I wear my uniform, but when I come home, I don't. So it makes sense, but it's by the by. But the idea of having these in, and Guild Wars 2 have done it recently. They've brought out this fucking they brought out this, like, literally a Japanese schoolgirl looking outfit, like Sailor Moon style. And I don't know if you know anything about Guild Wars 2, but there's a race in there called the Char. Check them out when they're wearing the Japanese Sailor Moon outfit. It doesn't look like the stuff of Nightmares at all. I don't know what you mean. But that was just put in as fucking fan service. It doesn't add to the game. It's a net negative having it in. And I'll say the same thing about the car. I don't think the car belongs in this game. It looks out of place. Whereas, as I say, the single-player airship suits the aesthetic of the game. It suits it. Right, I'm taking I'm using Serenity on this floor. Because Gloom is awful. So there you go. You can get some of the Guild Wars character outfits like you can get in Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, like like you can buy the Estinian outfit, or you can buy the what's his face, the leader of Ishgard. You can buy his, yeah, or you can buy Sid's attire and stuff. And again, that's just, it's just for cash shop purposes. It's just to squeeze money out of you, and it feels like it works against the game, and I don't agree with that. I feel like instead of copying somebody else's style, add more items for you to do, like, that are on par with the items that they wear, that have that sense of uniqueness that you can wear and feel like, yeah, this is my character, this is who I am. And they don't do that, and it's disappointing. I'm gonna fight this. Like, I'm happy to sit here and say about the bad things in any MMO, but I am still going to sit here, and even in spite of all those things that I dislike, like the car, for example, or the hoodie and t-shirt and whatever, I fucking love Final Fantasy XIV because I play it as a single-player game, primarily. I do some of the multiplayer content, and I did used to raid within this game, and I probably will go back to raiding in this game at some point as well, but as a single-player JRPG, it is a fantastic game. Like, the story in this game is just brilliant. It doesn't encourage, like, I get what you're saying there. Sorry, I'm having a few different conversations here. Like, somebody's mentioned being able to use, like, parts of Cloud's outfit for aesthetic purposes, mixing it with other things and creating your own style. And I get that. That makes sense, because I do that as well, but what I mean is the ones where it's literally like a full body outfit and you're literally just wearing Ian's outfit, or you're just wearing, you know, the armor from Ishgard or whatever. And it's like, it feels lazy. It's the aesthetic equivalent to me of calling your character Cloud Strife. Like, it is effectively, you know, ex Sephiroth Junior 69, because why not? It just strikes me as a massive lack of imagination, and they put it in because it encourages people to open the wallets and get the credit cards out, because ultimately that's all they give a shit about. And Final Fantasy XIV's cash shop is full of things like that, and I get it, because within the Final Fantasy XIV thing, I've explained it before when they first brought out the Sleipnir, and again, I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that. Oh, Mimic. Crap, we need to take that down. Good, it's dead. They brought that out because a lot of the budget got taken out. Again, this comes to the suits versus the devs versus the players. the budget, a lot of the budget got taken out of this to finance other things within Square Enix to make it more financially sustainable when a lot of other products weren't working as well. So they gave us the mount in the cash shop, and then that mount in turn gave us, European data centers and Heaven's Ward. So that's fine. The money earned went back into the game and is going back into the game to increase the budget, to give us more content, and to make it a better experience for us going forward. That's fine. I'm okay with a cash shop that does that. What I'm not okay with is something in like Blizzard's case where literally everything they do is just to suck as much money out of you and make the game shit while they're doing it. They literally make the game worse to make you spend money so it's not shit. But it's still shit. You're just spending money on it. And it comes down to things like pay to convenience as well, which is something I just can't stand. It's a PR friendly pay to win term. But they also put in pay to convenience in games to make you feel so bad that you will pay money to not feel bad playing a game. And when you get into the point where you're doing that, it's crap. And look at how that's ended for WoW. They're bleeding players faster than they can stop. You're right. You are right. They are, and that's happening to them right now. And this is the rooster coming. This is everything coming to roost. This isn't a slow thing. This isn't a it's all happening at once thing. This has been happening or been going to happen for a number of years now because of the steady decline. But it's because for years they tried to get away with making a minimum viable product. Yeah, everyone with them they have designed to waste your time if you don't use them. And you're right, they have. They've designed it to make it so egregious to you not to use them that you don't have a choice but to spend the money to use them. And the thing is, people continue to buy them. I mean, WoW was bad, but the Asian MMOs, particularly the Korean ones, are fucking nightmarish at it. They'll give you like 5 bag slots and then you've got to pay $2.99 per slot that you get after that and whatever, and then they'll just, every quest just chucks at you like fucking 10 items or something, so you never have any bag space. So you always have to buy bag space because they're awful like that, and it's designed to do that. And then they also put on the cash shop where you say an item you need 2,500 we'll call it 2,500 bling coins to get the thing. But then they make sure that they put the bling coins up on the cash shop in lots of 1,000, so that you have to buy more than you need. Because the maths doesn't add up, so you can get them in lots of 1,000, or you can get lots of 2,000 and then one at like 230 or something. So every time you're slightly above or you're slightly below, so you've got to get the next one, and they do that. So to bring light to the conversation about Final Fantasy XIV, which mount in the game is the best in my opinion? Fenrir. Fenrir. Aesthetically, because frankly I'm a big fan of wolves and I would happily ride a wolf into battle, but also because of the method of obtaining Fenrir. You have to do a lot of stuff within the game only to get Fenrir. Admittedly, it's not stuff that everybody will do, so, and it also has that sort, and because it's not stuff that everybody will do and will go out there and have all the MGP to buy Fenrir, it's still rare to see Fenrir. So if you see somebody on Fenrir, or somebody sees me particularly, because I've had Fenrir a long time, I did a lot of Chocobo racing. We don't need to go into the dark past right now, but you see somebody on Fenrir and it still has that sort of sense of accomplishment that goes with it. It still has that sense of almost like a sense of rarity and wonder, like the Ashes of Alar or Invincible in World of Warcraft. And the ponies and the birds and stuff, to a point, yeah, because these days the ponies are trivial. You can go in and get them really easily. But at the time, yes, because if you were riding around on the relevant sort of Extreme Primals mount, then damn, you definitely looked like the shit for doing that. And Yeah. Unfortunately, that happens to everything, though. The fact that they used to be current and now they're not. Time happens to everyone. I mean, you can look at that no different than sports people. Eventually, even top sports people, no matter how good they were in their prime, will fall. It happens. Ronaldo's 36, for crying out loud. Admittedly, the man's breaking the mold and still going. But there will come a time where he slows down and he can't quite make it the way that he used to, and he can't do it the way that he used to, and he'll have to retire. And that's effectively what these ponies have happened to them. They're not quite making it as far as they used to, but still, it's really good to see them, and particularly getting... so to counter the unsynced farming earlier content, would you welcome a pat? No, I would not welcome palette swaps. The simple reason I wouldn't welcome palette swaps is because that is a dark path to go down. Because, again, to go back to the very low hanging... I really need to stop going back to this as an example, but it's the easiest example to go to prove a point. World of Warcraft, patch 9.1, has more mounts than any other patch that's come before it. You can get something like 400 mounts. And they're all the same fucking mount in slightly different shades of green. That's not 400 mounts. It's the same fucking mount. It's just in a different shade. It's like going, this one is teal blue. This one is ocean blue. It's the same one. So, no, I don't quite agree with that because that is a lazy... Oh, fuck. Right, we've got witching, don't we? There we go. Witching's nailed. But yeah, it's like... and you end up getting lazy design space that way. And then particularly the way that Blizzard do it as well is really egregious because they give you all of them palette slops within... Dice systems are so easy, and that was my problem with the legendary set. Just recolor it for the new raid, even though they had it in for the start. Yeah, like it's lazy design. It's them not putting any effort into their game because they don't. They do a bad job of that, but it's like particularly in Blizzard's case, and again, it's a low hanging fruit because it's so fucking easy. They make it so easy to be mad at them for it. Because you look at patch 9.1 and they give you the patch of 1,000 reskins, and then they do the 6-month sub mount and you get Articuno, and there is literally fuck all like Articuno in the game. But the really egregious thing is you either get that for a 6-month sub and it's free. It's fucking not. Because you've literally got 6 months of no content and all you get for it is a fucking mount. You've literally paid with your time. But beyond that, it's free or it's 20 quid, and that's, 20 quid that you could have not spent had they, actually done their job and made the game playable. But they didn't. Yeah, I'm gonna rage it. You're right. That is a good shout. Let's rage. I forgot we were on floor 49 because I was too busy in this conversation. I blame chat. Yeah, it's like a lot of games do that, and I want to see less of that. And then we get into the whole conversation of monetizing an MMORPG and how you go about that. And I'm not going to be the person that sits here and says that everything needs to be free, everything you can get in and do whatever you want, and everything's free, and nobody has to pay for everything. It's all contained within the game, because that game would die. And the reason that game would die is because there would be nobody left to keep the fucking lights on. There'd be no server maintenance, there'd be no updates to the game, there'd be no nothing. The game would literally die because they couldn't afford to continue. So a game needs to have some monetization elements. It does. Every game does. So it's how you go about that, and what you as a person think is fair for the content that you're getting from the game. As in, back when World of Warcraft was just World of Warcraft and it was the only thing, and they were subscription only, they had to keep that game good for 12 months of a year, because that was the only way they were guaranteed to get 12 months worth of subscription out of a player. That was the only way they were guaranteed to get you money. They had to make the content good. And then they start changing it and they add in a mount, and you can pay for the mount, but in paying for the mount, they've effectively got 6 months of subscriptions out of you for getting that mount. So now they only need to keep you occupied for 6 months to suddenly start getting less content or less quality. And then they start adding more ways for you to do it in boosts, and it slowly becomes more and more egregious over time, whereas originally it was just the subscription model. And the subscription was what kept the lights on and kept the guys creating the content and kept it moving forward. And they had to keep the level of quality of a game at a certain level, or they would lose everyone and there would be no game. And now they've ripped the arse end out of the game so they can put it all in the cash shop and, you know, make you pay for it. And it's awful. It's sad to see, because gaming, as I say every time now, every single stream, is the biggest entertainment medium in the world. It's bigger than film, it's bigger than TV, it's bigger than sport, it's bigger than music. It is the biggest in terms of like raw finance that it just brings in. It is the biggest industry in the whole world. So right now everything's done about how much money they can make. So what games tend to do these days is chuck out a minimum viable product, and they actually have people within their companies, like psychiatrists and psychologists and whatnot, to determine what the breaking point of players is. How much shit will a player take and still keep playing? And that's my wife with the funniest title of my sex tape. But yeah, it's like how bad they can make it and people still keep playing the game. Like, what they can get away with. And then that's how you end up in the situation where, again, Activision Blizzard, they make it so easy. And this is why World of Warcraft is in the position that it's in. And why it's not just as quick as they've done patch 9.1, everybody's free. It comes down to... Sorry, I'm trying to think about this because I know that there's going to be some sort of meteor attack on this. But yeah, it comes down to... Oh, damn, that drags you in there and kills you. We need to get out of there. But yeah, it comes down to the quality of the game and how much they've got to reverse it now, because for so long they've... Well, a lot of people say that playing World of Warcraft feels like you're beta testing the game, and this is what it comes down to, because I know Ashes of Creation had a bit of an issue with the alpha test, because they had to explain to people that it was not a content test, it was a back-end technical alpha. Because when you get alpha tests and you get beta tests from a company like Blizzard, that is not an alpha or a beta test. That is them fucking live testing. That is them basically feature completing the game and chucking it out there to see what players think. And it doesn't matter how bad we think a game is. Look at fucking Shadowlands. Alpha and beta, it got slammed for a lot of stuff. And they just ignored it and shipped it anyway because it was already feature complete. And they just carried on going. And it's really bad. It is. It's not good for the game at all. And then alpha and beta like that. And then even in the first... And then people sit there and give them a break and say, it's only alpha. They'll get it in beta. They'll get it in beta. And then beta comes and it's only beta. They'll get it they'll get it before launch. They'll get it before launch. And then, oh, it's only launch. They'll get it in 9.1. Oh, it's only 9.1. And this continues until we finally get to the last patch of the cycle. And then suddenly the game that we should have working from fucking the first patch finally works. And then because of parasitic game design, which again, great video on this by Josh Hayes, please go check it out. They just chuck it all out and we go again in the next expansion. So you go from BFA and it's Heart of Azeroth. You go for, this really fundamentally started in Legion for me. It started with the artifact weapon. Now the whole idea of Legion, for me, it felt like Endgame. It felt like the end of World of Warcraft. It felt like... sorry, I'm going to stop quickly and just say, I think we're done with Palace of the Dead for tonight, because it's getting to that time where I normally start wrapping up. So I'm going to go to the Gold Saucer and check and see if I didn't win CAC, but I'll let you in on a spoiler, I did not. So I'll go do that, and... Yeah, sorry. So you end up playing the game, and it finally gets complete. So Legion felt like it should have been the end of World of Warcraft. They should have finished it all there, done Warcraft 4, and then come back again with World of Warcraft 2.0. That's how it should have gone. And It didn't. They did World of Warcraft things, and they carried it on, and we got Battle for Azeroth. But they've tried to recreate Legion every time since Legion. They've tried to follow that formula, and they've never done it justice. And the reason they've never done it justice is because they don't realise what it was that was successful about Legion in the first place. You had things like the fucking class hall. Class halls were amazing. I have literally leveled classes in Legion to do their class hall, because class halls are fantastic, and they just don't have it. They brought in the artifact weapon, and again, it's like they don't realise what it was that was good about the artifact weapon. It's the fact that you run around with the Ashbringer, which, by the way, also is a bit stupid, because then you see everybody else also running around with the fucking Ashbringer. It doesn't feel like important. But that's a different argument, because World of Warcraft should always have just stayed in your adventurer level running around. Instead, they decided to make you go fight God. And now it's just been ridiculous since then. And then now we're fighting Thanos, and that's just stupid. So World of Warcraft has a lot to do before I would consider going back, and I think everybody else feels the same. But you, that's who I was talking to. See, spoiler alert, didn't win. But then we got to Battle for Azeroth, and they chucked out the artifact weapon because they made you, use it to stop the fucking sword that they stabbed into the planet and then forgot about. And I'm not being funny, but while everything's going on and everything, imagine looking out of your window and seeing a giant fucking sword impaling the world you live in. You would, you'd kind of want that gone. You'd kind of want something done with it. Do you know what's been done with it? That's right. Fuck all. And yeah, it's just stupid. They did it for this massive moment, this great cinematic. Yeah, look at it, it's cool. And then forget about it. And it just makes it shallow. And then you get into, and so as I say, we threw the swords away because we used the swords and the power of friendship to stop the other sword that was impaled into the planet, because obviously. And then you get the Heart of Azeroth, which is the same thing but shit. It's the same thing but terrible. And then that goes with Azerite armor, which takes all the traits that you would have got in your artifact and, made them worse. So you get the same thing but worse and packaged differently. And people hated it. So then we fast forward and we get to the end of the expansion, they finally fix it and it finally works, and they scrapped it and they brought in essences, which by the way was a fantastic system and they should never have got rid of it. And then you get your corruption, and they mess that up, and they put the corruption vendor on a 4-weekly random rotation, which has literally no point, because it does have a point. It's to keep you engaged for a month in case you get the one that you want. And it's stupid, and it's literally time gated for the sake of time gating, and again that's something else. But then we get through all of that, and eventually that works, and then they break it and decide, sod it, away you go, it's done. And then you end up in Shadowlands, where we are now, and they brought out the Covenant system and whatever other sort of the soul binds and conduit energy. And it's exactly the same thing that we've already had in Legion and BFA, but there is a noticeable pattern here now where every time they repackage it and throw it back out, it is worse. It is the same thing done worse. So imagine you go and you paint a wall in your house, and you paint it and it looks nice, and then you decide to paint it again, but you're missing patches, so it looks less nice. And then the next time you come over, it's even more patchy, so it just looks like shit. That's what World of Warcraft's doing with its system designs right now, because they haven't got a fucking clue. Sorry, I've been ranting all night here, and I didn't realise how long I've been ranting for, but it's been a long-ass day for me. I've been to visit people, and unfortunately going to see my sister and her dog has made me feel a bit tired, because I do genuinely think I'm allergic to her dog, so I've been sat here trying to not show the fatigue. For those of you, I've seen somebody say on Twitter before that it's quite rude to tell a Twitch streamer that they're looking tired. Well, I look fucking knackered, so feel free to tell me, because I am. So I'm back in Ishgard, where the scene where all the stream started, and I'm going to end the stream there. So I am going to say thank you all for coming. If you haven't already, please drop a follow on the channel. As I say, I really appreciate everybody coming to watch us, and it's always nice to see people here because, as I've said every stream, and I'll say it in every stream when I finish, I started this just for me, and I fully expected it to just be me speaking to a wall and just being on my own and stuff. And the fact that people come here to listen to me talk and to watch me play games and to just hang out with us means the world to us, because as I've mentioned throughout this, I really struggle with that away from the computer. So having it here and having the community that I'm building means everything to us. As I say, if you haven't already, please drop a follow on the channel to know when we're going live again, which, for piece of advice for anyone that's not paying attention, is going to be Tuesday at 7:30 UK time, as always. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, that's when I'm streaming. I think I'm going to continue my Guild Wars 2 stream on Sunday. I was really enjoying playing Necromancer in that at the moment, doing a new player experience, a bit of a run, seeing how that is. At some point I am going to be doing Guild Wars 1 with Bann. Bit of a funny story from my Guild Wars 2 stream at the weekend, but I'll be playing a Necromancer called Joanne Voyant. There is a story behind that, but I'm not going to repeat it again until we do that stream, and I'll tell everybody the whole crack behind it. So this is me logging out for the night. I do want to say thank you to everyone again. If you haven't already, please follow the channel. There's a link to the Discord below. I also have a YouTube and a Twitter. Feel free to follow me on any of those as well to keep up to date. I do try to stay as active as I can, particularly in the Discord. I'm really easy to get hold of there. I'm in Discord quite a lot. And once again, just really thank you all for your time. This channel doesn't exist without you all, and I really appreciate it. So I actually feel like I've done this one better, because normally it takes me about 20 minutes to say goodbye, because I just keep repeating myself because I'm a dumbass. Anyway, I'm tagging out. Night all.